Hey, so this morning I thought I'd take you along as we prepare our dinner for tonight in the crock pot. We're going to have beef and broccoli with white rice. So it's so far the best recipe we found comparable to Chinese takeout. And I just thought I'd show you how we do it and see if anybody had any tips or had any recipes that they thought were pretty comparable to Chinese takeout. We really like Chinese. Well, the kids and I do, and we're always looking for ways to make it at home to try to save a couple dollars. So here we go. We're going to get started on our beef and broccoli. Okay, so I'm going to try not to move the camera a ton, but it is what it is. So we're going to start by cutting up our beef. This is just some really thin steaks. They're partially frozen, which makes it a lot easier to cut your meats when they're partially frozen. And that's Bentley in the background making all that noise. So this is a little more frozen than I would typically work on. Just carefully cut through your steak. You can't do that, buddy, okay? Nope, we're not going on a walk. Here, come over here and help Mommy. Let's go. Come here and help me. So we like strips, and when the way I have mine stacked and frozen, we're gonna have smaller strips that are great for like Bentley, and then bigger ones. And then as they thaw out in the crock pot, obviously they'll come apart. So we're just gonna cut whatever size you like, your family likes. It really doesn't matter. You could do squares, you could do strips, you know, whatever. You maybe could do ground beef, but I'm not entirely sure that would come out the way you wanted it to. Chicken you could do with this recipe, because the sauce for chicken and broccoli and beef and broccoli is pretty much the same. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to work on getting our steaks cut, and then we're going to come back and show you our next step. Okay, so we have our meat all cut, still insanely frozen. It was a little more frozen than it should have been, but whatever, we got through it. And yes, I was using a bread knife. You don't even want to know why, but I was, and it worked, so it's okay. Okay, so now I'm going to cut up our broccoli. Our broccoli is trying to turn, so we're making this on a good day. And then I'm also going to, these are some vegetables we had cut up for snacking, and they only have a day or so left probably of them, so I'm going to cut the carrots down a little smaller and go through the broccoli, make sure it's okay, and then we'll have some really good vegetables for beef and broccoli, I think. Broccoli, carrots, water chestnuts. I don't have any, but they're really good in there. Adds a nice little crunch. And if you've never had them, they don't have a whole lot of taste. So it's not, you know, something to be scared of. You can always just pick them out. If you put them in and decide you don't like them, they're not going to alter the flavor of your meal. So, okay, so my kids are anti-stem. They love broccoli, but they really... Excuse me, please stop screaming. Crazy kid. Okay, so I cut the stems off pretty small. You'll see that. And we compost, so that's what this bag's for, because I don't want you to see my ugly compost bucket. So I'm going to put all my scraps in here, and then I'll transfer them to that in a little bit. So I am going to steam this down some before it goes in the crock pot. This will go in the crock pot. You'll see it goes in close to the end of the cooking time. But I did want to cut it down quite a bit so that it's more bite-sized for the kids. And it just cooks easier that way. So, we cut a lot of the stem off, and I probably could save these stems and use them for something else, but because this is getting ready to turn, I don't really feel like it. So, just, you know, they're going to shrink down a little bit, but... And I'm going to wash them. They've already been washed once, but now that I'm cutting it up really good, I'm going to wash it again. And I don't see it as waste if we're putting the pieces we don't eat in our compost, that's not really wasting it because it's going to help us with our garden to grow more food. So it's not really wasting it. We're not consuming it ourselves. But eventually, technically, I guess we are. I'm just trying to look as I go and make sure none of the pieces have turned to the point that we, you know, it would be weird tasting. And we have company probably coming tonight. One of the kids' friends comes on Wednesdays. He goes to public school, he rides the bus, and they hang out, play games, and he's so good with all of the kids. So we want to make sure we don't feed him anything weird when he comes. He's a great little kid. So, well, he's not little, he's 13, but all right. So I'm going to finish getting all of these vegetables cut up, and then I'm going to bring you back, and we'll show you our next step. Thank you for my keys, buddy. Oh, my little helpers. So helpful. Okay, now we're going to make our sauce. So I double the sauce recipe because we really like extra sauce. So here we go. For doubling our sauce recipe, we have 2 cups of really good beef broth, stock, bone, homemade, box, whatever you like or is convenient for your family. The stove is, hey, listen, look, you gotta help me tell the people how to make your dinner. You wanna help me put it in there? Okay, so that was 2 cups of beef broth. Here, you wanna help me stir? And then we have 1.5 cups of low sodium soy sauce. Here you go, you can stir. Stir it very slow. Okay. Then we're going to add, again, I'm doubling it. So this is 2/3 cup of brown sugar. Okay. Uh-oh. Okay. Stir very slow. Let me help you a little bit. Then the original recipe calls for a tablespoon of sesame oil. So doubling it, I only did 1.5 tablespoons because it's very strong. So if you've never used sesame oil, I recommend going just a tad below whatever your recipe says until you know, figure out what exact amount you like, because it is really strong. Okay, so again, for doubling it, that was about 1.5 tablespoons. Good job. Then we have 2 tablespoons of minced garlic. You can do fresh from the jar, reconstituted, whatever flavor garlic you like. Okay, stir, stir. It also calls for red chili flakes, but because I'm feeding a lot of little kids, I'm not even going to bother putting it in there. It's not even a big deal to us. If it wasn't for the kids, I would probably put a lot in there, but, you know, it is what it is. Okay, so Bentley's going to slowly stir that up, and I will link the original recipe below that I kind of adapted for our taste, so you can see exactly how that person made the recipe, and then, like I said, I just adapted it to less of certain things and doubling the sauce. Okay, let's get the crock pot.
Whoa.
Alright, so you want to spray or oil the inside of your crock pot unless you're using a bag. I don't have a bag, so I do use them, but I just don't have any right now. Just because the beef will try to stick if you don't stir it, and then that's not fun to clean that. Okay, so, are you still stirring? Put your beef in. Whoop.
Huh?
Dumped out. And we've got our sauce all mixed. Okay, let me pour it in here. And we're going to pour it. Oh, it smells so good. This is my yummy. Scrape out your sugar. No fussing. We're showing everybody how to make dinner. We're not fussing. We're going through a fussy stage with Bentley right now. And that's a load of fun. No, sir. Okay. Yep, we're going to tell them about that just a second. We're making a big old mess of dishes. Hey, we don't open this yet. Wait. Okay, get that all in there. Don't forget to plug it in. That's my claim to fame. Put your lid on. I cook mine all day long on low. Because I'm putting it in time. But if you needed to cook it on high, probably depending on your steak size. So if you're, I mean, most people kind of know how a crock pot works. So 3 or 4 hours on high typically is fine. But if for some reason you chose to use really thick steak, then you might need longer. If it's super thin, it may need less time. So that's how that works. And I'll show this again when we do it. But used, according to their recipe, it's 2 tablespoons of cornstarch and 4 tablespoons of cold water. And you mix that up and put that in at the end and stir it around, and that helps to thicken it up. We actually use more because it doesn't get it as thick as we like. So when we get to that point, we're going to show you how much we use. And I put it in a little sooner than they say to try to give it more time. So we're going to go take care of the fussiness, and we will be back when it is time to add the other ingredients. Hey, so we're back. We're going to do our cornstarch. And like I said earlier, this part is kind of tricky because we know how much liquid we put in there, but we don't know how much liquid has come off of the any fat that was in the meat. I have not added the vegetables yet. Hang on 1 second. There you go. So anyway, so if there was more fat this time than last time, anyway, it's gonna make it a little bit more difficult. Today. To get the thickness up. So what we're going to do is we're just going to use a couple tablespoons of cornstarch. That's probably a good 3. So because it is, you'll see as I add in the liquid on the video, it's very, very thin currently. Very thin. So let's see if I can, I might have to find something else. Anyway, this is, it's pretty thin. I don't know if you can see how thin that is, but it's very thin. So, we are going to cheat and use a ladle. Don't touch it, buddy. So we're hoping to get it pretty thick, so that it's like a nice sauce-ish gravy situation. And yes, I have a ginormous whisk. You can help me stir. Yeah, hang on. Let me get some of the clumps out, and then I'll let you work on it too. Because that's fun. That's fun when you're making dinner in a hurry before you go to church. Let the 2-year-old help you stir. Why wouldn't we want to do that, right, Bentley? Because you are a good stirrer. Okay, it's hot, so got to do it careful. Okay. So I'm stirring out all the lumps. Which in cornstarch, if you have a pretty fresh one, is not a big deal. Okay. You want to stir it one time? Keep it in there. It's hot. I'll hold the bowl. You stir it. Good job. Good job, my boy. You need to get dressed. All right. Thank you. Okay. So, I have not added the vegetables in here because I did that last time before I put this in, and it was kind of hard to mix it in. The meat's still in there. So, we will add our cornstarch and sauce. The recipe called to use water, but why would we add more water to the sauce when we're trying to thicken it is my My thought. So, mixing that in really well. And we're going to let that go for a few minutes by itself, and then we'll come back and we'll add in our vegetables. Okay, so that thickened up our sauce pretty good. Not super thick, but I think it'll be okay this time. Now we're going to add in our fresh vegetables that we steamed earlier. Let's see. And that'll help thicken. That was Olivia throwing a book. That'll help thicken up the sauce also. So we're just going to add those in and let that cook for probably about 10-15 minutes. Oh yeah, that's way better.
What was that?
So that way when we put it over the rice, it won't run all over the plate.
Wow.
So, while the vegetables drained from steaming, I kept the liquid that was in them, in the pot from them steaming. Are you okay? Did you break your leg?
Yeah.
Do we need to cut it off?
Yeah.
Oh, let me get a knife. You ready? We'll cut it off. Oh, is that better? We can use this for, we'll make chicken stock tomorrow in the crock pot, and I'll add this to it for extra vitamins that came out when we steamed the broccoli and the carrots. And that won't really alter the flavor of the chicken stock. It'll just add in those vitamins so they're not wasted. So, we'll let this go for a little while, and then we'll show you our plate once we get it plated up. Hey, so I have plated it up. Here is our beef and broccoli with some added carrots and our sticky rice. If I can figure out how, I will link the video to the sticky rice above. I actually made the rice this time a few hours ago and just let it sit because we still weren't happy. It's good. It's really good. It's just we were trying to achieve like a real takeout rice recipe. But anyway, so we let it sit a little longer this time to see how that works out. So here it is, and I tasted a little bit. It's really, really good this time. The Bentley Stop. And the sauce did thicken up a lot more than it normally does. So, give our recipe a try and let us know what you think. Sorry about the video movement. Mr. Bentley's trying to help.